Yeah.
I think in the quest to defeat Trump, we've really been looking for a savior as the Democratic Party, as sort of a superhuman figure. And I was really struck by how you spoke about emotion in your New York Times interview during the endorsement segment. And I wanted to ask, over this past year with all your travels and all the people you've spoken to, when is a moment that you felt vulnerable or that you felt exceptionally human?
Well, it's a really profound question. Um, the funny thing about being a candidate is it can really inflate your ego and cut you down to size, sometimes in the very same day. Like just around the time, this was maybe 10 months ago, around the time I was really beginning to get known nationally and starting to feel like feel like we're really catching on. People start to come up to me in airports and on the street. And I was on a flight headed for somewhere around New Hampshire, and a lady standing next to me, waiting to get on the plane, looked at me, looked at me, looked at me. And I was like, oh, she's going to introduce her, she's going to want to meet me because I'm running for president. And she looked at me a little more, and she's like, I know you. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's going to come to you. She's like, let's see. She goes, I know. You work for CNN. Well, no, not quite. I'm running for president. Now, good news is a few months later, I saw her at an event in Franklin, New Hampshire, and I'm reasonably sure I've convinced her to vote for me. But you have moments that build you up and moments that cut you down. And the other thing that's really human is understanding what people have on the line when they come up to talk to you about the issue that is the most important to them. Someone a few hours ago came up to me and said, you got to get elected because I'm afraid of losing my child to a suicide attempt. Now, I may never meet her child, and I don't know exactly what her circumstances are. And I'm thinking about how I can possibly deliver on her expectation that me being in the Oval Office will make a difference on that life or death issue for her family. And God knows I'll do everything I can, from better mental health to a better sense of belonging across this country, and hopefully in some way touch whatever it is that she thinks and believes will make a difference in a incredibly frightening moment that her family is clearly going through. But how can that not also be humbling to any human being who is seeking an office that should be daunting to anybody? The stakes of the decisions that are made in that office. And part of why I'm running is to bring the perspective of somebody who largely experiences politics in terms of politics as something that happened to me and my community and my family, whether it's what the ACA meant to my mother-in-law, or what marriage equality meant to my household, or what the decision to go to war in Afghanistan meant to the course of my life. And make sure that that perspective, which maybe gets just a little bit thinned out if you spend too much time in Washington, that perspective is coming into the Oval Office. Now, the relief, if you can call it that, is that it also turns out to be the case that every president we've ever had, including the absolute greatest, one thing they have in common is they've been mortals, human beings. And it's a reminder that you also need to surround yourself with people, both inside the administration in terms of the people you look to all the time, inside and outside, who will make sure that your decisions are never made in isolation but shaped by the best input and insight and information that you can get. Which is why we need a president who listens, a president who reads, at least reads memos, right? Because so much is at stake.